Hey everyone, it's Oliver from OBR Horology. Today we're going to go through a couple of things about the ETA 7750. It's also known as the Valju 7750. It's commonly used in Tag Heuers, IWCs, Amigas, multiple brands. It's essentially the workhorse for chronograph movements for the watch industry. There's a couple of do's and don'ts that are pretty important when you have this one, and we'll go through a couple of things. So here I have a Tag Heuer with the 7750 movement in here. Needs a service, well overdue. It's got some funny problems, but what I always say to people, so we'll just cover setting the time and the date function first. I always recommend setting the time first, then the date, because if you try and set the date first with this caliber, and say for example if you're between about say 10-11 p.m. and say 2 a.m. You can potentially damage the watch. And I have one almost ready to get put back together and I can show you. But basically what happens is a little finger internally comes around and flicks the date ring, and that's what changes the date. Now this watch is changing the date at weird times. So about here you can see that'd be what, 3 a.m. and bang, it jumps over. Now I would know, hey, okay, it's safe to set the date, we can do that now. But why do we want to wait? Why do we want to set the time first and then the date? And I'll show you that now. So this is underneath the dial of the 7750. You have, it looks pretty boring and whatnot, but you've obviously got the date calendar. So date calendar disc right here. And then you have the date change wheel right here. And I'll zoom in on that for everyone. So we have the date change wheel right here, and there's this little finger. We also then over here have the date jumper, and that's what locates it into position. And then this is for rapid date change right here as well. So we can cycle through quite quickly. That's what happens when you go through like that. What I'll do is I'll wind through the time so that we can see what happens. Right, so let's pull it out one more click. So it's in time change mode. Now pay attention to this little finger. So currently as it stands, we're probably at about, say, midday. We're coming round, we're winding. Getting closer. And then we're starting to engage, we're getting close and we're starting to engage with the tooth there on the date change wheel. Now, if we, for example, if I go back, if we were to try and change the date now, that finger right there, you can see that, that's stopping the date from changing. So we're probably at close to, close to 10 o'clock there, maybe 10 p.m. And what happens is if we try and change that, potentially this piece here can break off and snap off. So go back. Let's move. We're going to say we're at midnight now. The date's starting to change. You can see that this jumper over here is starting to lift. Bang. We'll say that's midnight. Now, you can see now the finger is on the other side of this, right here, so it's still not safe to change the date. So we'd say, we're around midnight, we're moving forward, we're around 1, maybe we're around 2 now, and probably we're safe when we're about at 3 o'clock, if not more, and that this finger now has moved out of the way so that we can, if we want, we can rapid date change. Now, that's why it's important to always set the time first, date second, otherwise you can potentially damage this finger, and that is it's not a common problem, but it does happen. It tends to happen when watches aren't serviced regularly. There is another wheel that sits underneath here that's meant to slip, but it occasionally doesn't do its job.